All right. We are connecting to YouTube Live now. And anyone watching this or watching this later, you're welcome to hop on and ask questions in the chat. So, welcome, Make School staff. How's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, doing good. It's the week. It's
All
almost
right.
the weekend, so
We are connecting to YouTube Live now. And all right. So everyone, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can ask questions. Uh, Feel free to type into the YouTube live chat. So there's the staff, and of course, you all might notice there's someone who isn't on staff. Elias, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, so I'm Elias Mbugu, currently a senior at Franklin High School in Somerset, New Jersey.
All right. And most people probably noticed there's something on Elias's head and something above his head. Yeah. So welcome to your new classmate. And yeah, it's really exciting, right? You got a senior, he's coming in, and he is not only joining this panel, he is also the founder of FHS Hacks, which stands for Franklin High School in Somerset County, New Jersey. So he's already doing big things. He can't wait to join everyone on campus. And I think the biggest thing, obviously, is when will that happen? Well, fall 2021. So looking forward to that. Elias, we are sad to be losing you from the East Coast. Although I say I'm in Texas, so I don't know. I just felt like it. So let's go ahead and introduce each member of the staff real quick in case you don't know them. For my screen, let's start with Lisa on the top left.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. My name is Lisa Tran and I'm a student experience coordinator here at Make School. And so in my role, I help support student success through coaching, directing students to resources, helping to manage student clubs and organizations, and helping to plan programs and events that strengthen our community here and also enhance student growth.
All right. And I noticed that although I said top left, on everyone's screen, it's actually center top. So we'll go on next to the top right screen, which is Tanya. Welcome, Tanya. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, y'all. My name is Tanya, and I work in admissions and enrollment at Make School. I've been here about 2 years. And admissions and enrollment is a really exciting role where I directly support applicants and new students. Applications are things that really give students anxiety, really stress them out. Make School itself specifically, as part of our mission, works with students from underrepresented backgrounds, which are students who need a little bit more support. So this is a role I'm very excited to sort of be like the Sherpa on how to apply to college. And I actually got to read Elias's application, which was amazing. And I was so happy. So I'm happy that you're happy.
Thank you.
And I can tell everyone that it was definitely very impressive, even though I didn't read it myself. Having known Elias the past couple months, working with him, obviously to bring FHS Hacks to you and the Civic Code as a whole, I can tell you it's a great pleasure. Everyone, you're gonna enjoy working with this guy. So now we'll move on to the bottom right. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, hi. So I'm Jay Lowe. I am one of Make School's newer team members, and I am a full stack engineering instructor here. I teach a lot of the engineering classes. I've been kind of jumping into the Make School culture head first, and I totally love this team. Everybody here rocks, and the students rock, and I can't talk enough about it. But just a little bit more about me. Before working at Make School, I worked in the special education space for a couple years, building applications and as an instructor as well. And just kind of a fun fact, I live in Berkeley right now. I'm a total foodie, but for some reason, Chipotle has taken my heart. And it's because, for one reason, it's because I could feed my entire family for $13 with a single Chipotle burrito. And sometimes it's too easy. It's too good. I'm just like, I don't feel like cooking tonight. And it's like, all right, well, let's get the veggie bowl. Yeah. So thanks for having me here. And I can't wait to meet all of you and talk some more.
All right. And we all know that there's a Chipotle, I think, within 2 blocks of Make School. So very convenient.
Spoiler alert.
Anyone who is considering where to go to college, please consider you have a Chipotle within 2 blocks of your school. And we're talking San Francisco blocks, not New York blocks. So you're not worrying about the length that you have to walk like our next person, Valdine.
Hi, speaking of New York, my name is Valdine. I'm the Diversity and Inclusion Program Coordinator, and I am from New York. So that's a little bit about me. And as the Diversity and Inclusion Program Coordinator at Make School, I also work to create an inclusive community with my teammate, Lisa. I'm directly a part of her team. Also with Megan, who, if you all decide to attend Make School, you'll probably meet. And also the rest of the team, who's really dedicated to making sure that students of all backgrounds are as supported as much as possible. And thank you so much for having me today.
All right. Thank you, Make School staff, for joining us. And, let's go back to Elias a bit. A little bit more introduction, Elias. In this case, a little bit more your context with Make School.
I just blanked out. So I just completely blanked out. Okay, so they pretty much said everything. I'm currently a 2021 admit at Make School. My little journey with Make School started around January when I found out about the school through a hackathon, actually. So that's kind of funny. My second ever hackathon. So ever since then, I had always been fascinated because, tech has always been a part of me. So I wanted to find a school that would be the right fit for me. And so finding Make School was like one of the best things. And then ever since then, I've just always like been in the community, from like the community showcase, talking with Jordan, things like that. Yeah.
All right. And I guess, one thing you mentioned before, Elias, is it wasn't just the emphasis on tech, but also just how the environment, the whole campus, there's a lot of emphasis on making sure everyone gets to just be themselves, right? And
Exactly.
like you said, the community showcase, you ended up showing off 2 projects. And part of it was you never once felt like, oh, I'm restricted. I just do whatever I want. And you get to be who you want. So I guess for you, is that something that you often find in your life? Is it ever missing, or it was just one of those things you're just like, all right, I want to keep that going?
It's something that I've always had within me. Like I just like always looking for something extra to do in terms of like going above and beyond. And so when I found out that I had reached out to Jordan, I was like, hey, can I submit 2 projects? He said, sure, why not? So I actually happened to be the only person to submit 2 projects, and that's how it caught Jeremy's eye. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And we all know Jeremy and Ashu. I used to work at Make School, so I've told so many stories about how much they respected every person, regardless of the person's rank, position, whatever. It would take forever for me to tell the stories, so I won't. Save for a different time. Let's go ahead and move on. One thing that Make School is known for, beyond the emphasis on tech, the educational side, is also trying to make everyone feel included. And in the heart of San Francisco, right next to Union Square, obviously, Make School, you guys probably all see your fair share of just all the things going on in San Francisco, a lot of the movements, a lot of the calls for equality and all that. And I think for me, it was interesting kind of finding out recently about the term D&I, which if you told me diversity and inclusion, I would have thought, oh, I get it. But I somehow did not know that there was a formal term, D&I. I guess for each person, when you first heard this term, what did it mean to you? What does it mean to you now? Oh, sorry. We can start with you, Lisa.
Yeah, for sure. I think D&I means creating a safe space where different perspectives can be shared. Like, I think, it's beautiful because we all bring different identities and experiences to the table. So being able to open up our minds to different perspectives of like opinions and values and beliefs that we probably wouldn't be able to think about. And I think the beautiful thing about Make School is that we have a diverse student body. And so everyone has a different perspective. They have different experiences. They have different passions. And so it's really beautiful to be able to see them kind of grow into that and showcase that through the world of tech. So I think it's just really being able to showcase our different identities and experiences in a unique way.
All right. And then moving on, Tanya, what about you?
Yeah, so I mean, the thing I always think of when I think D&I is the question, who's missing? If I think about a space, if I look around, who am I not seeing? Who's not represented? Because when everyone's not represented, then tech actually gets stifled. Things don't grow, things don't innovate, things don't get better. The other thing I think about is education. At Make School, we take a really compassionate approach. We really believe that everyone can learn, everyone can be better. And even yourself, there are things you don't know that you're going to find out along the way, and that's okay. So I love D&I. I'm very passionate about D&I, and just looking at it from a place of compassion and support.
All right, that's great. That's great. And then Jay.
Yeah, I can tell I've become accustomed to Zoom culture because in my brain I'm like +1, +1. But yeah, so D&I, I don't want to parrot the other thing said, so I'll say my own kind of side things that aren't related to theirs. D&I matters a lot to me because there are so many voices and minds and ideas in this world, and it's tragic that large, talented groups of people don't get to share those ideas. They don't get to voice their stories because they don't have an opportunity, or the opportunity is taken from them by institutions. And so I think D&I matters to me because it just breaks my heart to know that. And I want everybody to have their chance to do what they want to do. And so that's what I think about when I'm like, what's D&I to me?
All right. And then Valdine.
Yeah, so also +1 to what everyone said. And D&I to me is also an opportunity to learn constantly, learn from different people and get fresh perspectives and then grow. Some of the places that I've experienced the most growth was when I was surrounded by many different people, opinions, and faces. And also it's going back to the belief that it doesn't matter to only just have a few faces that don't look like you, but to also allow people to come as you are, as we were just speaking about, to really be themselves so that they can bring their full potential to the table. So that's what it means to me. And it's really close to me because I've experienced growth through that. And I know how much we can achieve through having a space where it's completely inclusive and diverse. And I'm always encouraging that. It seems scary, but it's not as scary as people make it seem.
Yeah, definitely. And Elias, what about you? Oh, you're on mute, Elias.
My apologies for that. One thing I noticed, especially switching schools, is there wasn't really a big community in computer science at my school, and we had just done our second year of the computer science club. So trying to bring everybody into this, into the world of tech was a difficult thing. And I thought the best way we could do this is with a hackathon. Now, as I'm leaving high school, I know that I'll be coming back every year to help out with the hackathon, but it leaves a pathway for people who are new to this to come and experience what computer science is. So that to me was really important.
That's great. Yeah, and I think one of the key things for how me and you started working together was when we met at the community showcase.
Yeah.
The first thing you said to me was, I want to leave a legacy. And a lot of times when you're a senior in high school, you have the license to check out because you're done, you've gotten into college, you've figured out their whatever plans you're going to do after May, June when you graduate.
Yeah.
But you're saying, no, not yet. I got one more thing to do. I got to leave a legacy. I'm going to go somewhere I want to go. It's the one school I applied to, which was similar to what I did. And you said, before I leave, I want to pave that road.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that everyone who follows my path feels like they have a shot at doing what I did. And if they don't do what I did, it's because they took that path and decided to go in a different direction. So obviously for me, that
Exactly.
was a big deal. Everything that I've been doing for the past several years, I thought, all right, let's do this. So, you mentioned a bit the advice, tactics for you for achieving diversity and inclusion. Some of it is to say, here's a hackathon. We are getting lots of people involved. Obviously for you as a high school student, that's very different from what you'll be doing at Make School in San Francisco. Do you have any ideas on what you want to do there?
Honestly, no, I don't. It's like one of those things where I just, go with the flow. I do know what I kind of like want to specifically go into, more of like the front end stuff, but in terms of um the other areas of college, nope, no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So one thing we do know on the staff side, Elias is figuring out his school, his direction academically, but he'll also have a lot of opportunities. And one of them, which I think is just absolutely amazing, is led by Valdine. And Valdine, I think you know which one I'm talking about. Would you like to describe that one?
Some of the tactics.
Yeah, and the stuff that you do on campus with DNI.
Yeah, of course. So recently we had, or what we're currently working on, are industry huddles where people from all different backgrounds come in and speak about how they got into the industry, offer tips and advice on how to be successful in the industry. And, we talk a lot about hearing from different perspectives. So this really allows students to hear from those perspectives and get to see some of the cool projects that they're working on. Most recently, we had an engineer named Enrique come in and speak about how he's leveraging tech for social good. So just seeing all the possibilities that are out there within tech, and that you don't need to be, a white man to have access to it. You can be anyone using tech for however you feel like it. Hopefully it's for good in some way, but providing that encouragement to students. And yeah.
All right. And then another thing that you do, the Jedi Council, which every time I hear that name, I'm just thinking, oh man, that's amazing. And I think you should be the one to tell everyone, why is it called the Jedi Council?
Yes, it's the most awesome name that and we always go back and we always talk about how that name it should be used everywhere for anything pertaining to justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so, yeah, we have a student Jedi Council who meets and talks about how they can be the change makers in tech. And right now they're working on a cultural podcast called What's Next Gen Z, where they talk about, different subjects that come up, just being an underrepresented group in tech, and just tackling that and just talking about it. And we also have Jedi Council for Staff, where we take in all suggestions from students, take a look at what we're doing and how we can improve some of our initiatives. And, I mentioned that some people think that D&I is scary and they hear these words, these key terms. But what I meant to say is that sometimes you can just take a small step towards it. So we're constantly taking small and sometimes large steps towards making a difference and making tech more equitable. So the larger goal is to get people talking about, these subjects, and also to make tech look like what America looks like.
All right. And does anyone get lightsabers?
I wish.
We'll figure that out.
I feel like that's definitely gives the like save the world vibe. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Lightsabers.
What did you say, Jay?
Oh, I made a cheesy joke. I said our hearts are the lightsabers.
Actually, I would say when you watch the movies, you do realize that ending, or not the ending scene, but once Luke has defeated Darth Vader, and the emperor comes down the stairs and tries to turn him, he does throw away his lightsaber because for him, it's about staying with the force. So, I think what you said is right. I guess the question for you is, beyond that, what's some advice and tactics that, what do you think would be good for creating inclusion wherever you go?
Yes, so I think that, again, to know that sometimes it feels like diversity and inclusion means to change the world in a short amount of time, and to actually take steps that are practical for you or within the space. And that might mean asking someone for advice that doesn't really look like you, getting the opinions and perspective from different people and actively doing that. Thinking about who you're working with and just assessing, hey, did I treat this person differently because they're not like me? And how could I have acted or worked with them in a way that's equal to how I work with peers that look like me and share some of the same, identities as me. Another tactic that I like to take is to also make sure that there are people in leadership, especially in our groups, that reflect the student body, and also that it's not just the same people taking on the same leadership roles over and over again. So these are some tactics that you can take. From a student perspective, I think that it's important to assess the environment that you're getting into, and to make sure that this is a place that you can really be who you are. I'm going to throw in make school because it's true. This is a place that you can be who you are. And if you feel that you can be who you are, I think you have a higher chance of thriving than a place where you're constantly uncomfortable because you're thinking that you're not supported based off of your identity.
All right. And then Lisa, since you work closely with Valdine, would you like to add anything there?
Yeah, definitely. I think Valdine has some really great advice there. I think, definitely doing a lot of self-reflection of who you are, what are the different identities that you bring to the table, and how do they impact how you feel, what your values are, what your beliefs are, and how you navigate different spaces, right? And also, how does that intersect with other people and their identities, and being open and asking genuine questions, coming from a place of compassion and curiosity of like, hey, like, I don't understand like where you're coming from. Like, can you tell me more about that? Right. I think it opens our minds to having really crucial conversations about other people, helps us learn more about ourselves. So definitely having compassion and empathy and curiosity. And I think also echoing what Valdine said about sometimes D&I can seem a little intimidating, but it's okay. Like, normalize making mistakes and saying like, hey, I actually, I got that wrong. Let me take it back and say like, I learned something new and let me implement this, right? So it's totally okay to make those mistakes. Like, having a growth mindset is super important for diversity and inclusion. So definitely normalizing making mistakes in this space. And also, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, empathy, compassion, curiosity, open-mindedness, and it's okay to make mistakes. You're learning, we're all growing. There's always room to learn more. I think nobody's perfect at diversity and inclusion. Things are always changing, so definitely don't be afraid to learn and do the work yourself to read and watch things and have discussions with people. So that's my advice.
All right. And then we all know that when it comes to admissions, you have to do a lot of different things beyond just getting a sense of what's diversity and inclusion, representation. You also have to look into what each person is like, whether they're from a small town, what drives them, what are their dreams. Honestly, I can't even imagine having to do all that for hundreds of thousands of however many applications you get. So Tanya, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. Also want to plug what Valdine and Lisa are saying. Everything they're saying on a day-to-day is true. I will say it's hard. Working in admissions and enrollment is hard. If you go by more traditional metrics that maybe other schools do, it's a bit easier because you can just say, oh, you're not at this GPA, therefore no. Oh, you don't have this test score, therefore no. Or, oh, you can't afford it, therefore no. For Make School, we take an opposite approach. We take that's not what we want. We want our students to look like what America looks like, which means sometimes I have a student where the application itself is written really poorly. And I have to look past that. I have to look past the grammatical errors, the spelling errors, and look at what is actually being said. Because there's so many reasons a student might do that. They may come from a background where they don't have access to the internet and they're doing this on a phone at school. They may be coming from a first generation immigrant background where they are not as comfortable speaking in English. They may be coming from a dyslexic or learning disability background. And so I work really hard to ignore those things. And another thing we do is we institute a policy of one-on-one. So this is not like a traditional interview. You're not coming in and being graded on how good are you. It's just a conversation so that you can advocate for yourself. And anytime we're on the fence, anytime we just don't know, we are like, okay, we need a one-on-one with that student. We need to give them the chance to speak to us so we can know who they are and not just make arbitrary decisions that we maybe aren't realizing are coming from systemic issues.
All right. And Jay, for you being an instructor, it's a little different because I guess probably 99% of your interaction with students is within a classroom setting, which usually tends to be a little bit more rigid, a little bit more confined. It's not quite as open as, you know, the Jedi Council and all that, at least in terms of space and geography. So how do you try to incorporate all this into your day-to-day?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I actually want to start by saying that as an instructor at Make School, we do a lot of cool things. So about 50% of my interactions are in the classroom. We
Oh,
actually
wow.
have a lot of like one-on-one coaching programs, a lot of like other forms of engagement that are outside of the classroom that we spend a lot of time with. So fun little fact, it's kind of cool. We do a lot of things different. And to answer your question of kind of like how do these D&I concepts emerge into the classroom, you know, it's a great question. And my answer to it would be that I personally try to employ these D&I concepts into each level of interaction I have with students, myself. And so, for example, right, like if there is a new student coming in and there are maybe the only type of their demographic, right? Like I'm going to be the first person that welcomes them. I'm going to say, hey, welcome to the classroom. Like, you know, where are you from? Tell me about your, you know, your family. Like, let's get to know you. Let's normalize all these things because it's different and it's scary sometimes. You know, other ways it's coming in is we do a lot of like project, like sprint-based projects that mirror engineering in you know, big production companies. And so we have a lot of these situations in which we have opportunities to put people into leadership roles based on their own desires. And so we get these a lot of kind of starting to spin circles now. But yeah, it kind of emerges organically as the class grows because we have such a diverse class already that everybody gets to play the role that they want to be. And that role is based on their preferences and not by some strange arbitrary system, such as like, oh, like you're not a man, like you can't be the leader. Sorry.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, because I think one of the big things that drew me into hackathons, when I heard that a couple students on campus at Duke were saying, "Oh yeah, we want to create this hackathon," all that. The concept, just how it was described to me, I was thinking, yeah, that's great. You know, a lot of times we hear about how half the population is being written off just because they're women, and whether you know, whether they're talented or not, the fact is sometimes not even given the opportunity to become talented. if we're saying from a young age, oh, you're not good at math and science, don't worry about it. Well, how are they going to become talented? You have all the potential, but without the training, you don't become talented. And anyone who watches The Mandalorian knows that I paraphrased Luke Skywalker just now. But more importantly, I think, like Jay, what you said, one-on-one time, really feeling like each student matters. If they're new to campus, they don't feel like, oh, I'm just another fish in the big sea, in a big pond. I think one of the really interesting things is when I stepped onto campus the first time, I guess the current campus, when I was coming back for a visit, I saw that you have an area where you take your shoes off and you can wear slippers, or if you want to go barefoot, which probably not recommended because there are some cold surfaces. There's some tile. There are some wood floors. So I think that was pretty interesting. How did that come about?
So Ashu and Jeremy, who are the founders of Make School, thought that this, from what I've heard, because I actually haven't been to the campus yet due to COVID, but that was another way that students can just remove something that's kind of like a barrier to being, or another way for students to come as they are. When you're taking off your shoes in some cultures, it means that you're entering a home, you're entering a safe space. And that's what they wanted for Make School, for people to feel like they're entering a safe space, they can be themselves and be comfortable.
And I will say it is very comfortable. The slippers are great, which I found out the second time I visited campus. So I guess, Lisa, are you, because you mentioned that you're currently based in LA, I guess you have been on campus, you're just in LA temporarily, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So I guess for you, actually me and you, coming from the ethnicities best known for taking our shoes off, what were your thoughts the first time that happened?
It definitely was interesting because coming from a traditional like educational background, we don't take our shoes off at school, right? So the first time stepping in, I was like, oh, this is odd because I'm at school or I'm in a place of work. But eventually I kind of got used to it and it felt like home, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna take my shoes off. I'm at home. I can get comfortable. And this is just who I'm just hanging out with people that, are here. And so it really did feel like a place where we could just show up as we are with whatever socks we came in, whether they had holes in it or if they were mismatched, like it didn't really matter. And I think it was a really unique part of the Make School experience. Definitely an adjustment, but a really, really, I think it really encouraged like vulnerability in a weird way of like, all right, I'm going to take off my shoes now. Like this is me. But it really did feel like home.
Yeah, yeah. And I do know one issue I would have is I might start trying to put my feet on the desk like I would at home. Well, I guess in my own room I would, not in other rooms for very obvious reasons. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. We don't really think about it, but sometimes even wearing a pair of shoes, it is signifying something to someone else that they might, it might remind them, oh yeah, I don't have that kind of money because, oh, he gets to have Nikes. Where a lot of us view it as, oh, that's my personality. I'm just showing I'm a basketball player or I'm this person, which is true. But then, like y'all were mentioning, it's kind of taken away a bit of, that differentiation to say, hey, we're all at home, we're all comfortable, we're a family, which, like Jay and Tanya said, really trying to dig in deep and find something about each individual student, what makes them them. So I think it's really interesting that to me, having this one building where everyone can come in and it's very self-contained, but you're also in this wider city, and obviously anyone who goes to college in an urban setting knows that there's so much more than just campus. But then everyone who goes to a self-contained campus knows there's also so much on campus. And I think the amazing thing is, Make School has the unique challenge of trying to combine both. So how does that work for everyone?
It's exciting. Yeah, I know we mentioned Chipotle earlier. There's a Chipotle club at Make School.
Oh,
Almost said something about it. I almost did, but I didn't want us to be known as the school that has a Chipotle club.
Well, to be fair, it's a Chipotle Slack channel and students love it. And I also hate how much I love Chipotle. But no, I mean, students here, all students get lunch at about the same time. That's usually an hour to an hour and a half, depending on what time their class starts. And it's a great way for students to bond because we don't do a traditional cafeteria. Students bring their own food or they can go out and get food. It encourages them to take part in the community and walk around the city. We can't talk about tech without acknowledging that there's a gentrification issue. And so a huge part of Make School is trying to find out ways we can partner with the community around us, support the businesses around us, and students being able to go off campus and eat is one way. And then from a staff perspective, we're a small staff. We have less than 50 people. And in the before times when you could see people's legs, it was not uncommon for people to like go grab drinks after work or go to lunch together. Every Wednesday, we would have food delivered for our company all hands where we would sit together. So it really is about recreating this experience of family, of cohesion, because then people are more willing to collaborate, more willing to engage. And that's especially important as we're talking about students coming from all over, not just the country, but the world with different lived experiences.
actually, I'm kind of curious about that. How many countries are represented at Make School?
Off the top of my head, India, Ethiopia, South Korea, Taiwan, Mexico, Venezuela, United States, Canada, and I think there's like another two that I'm not remembering.
I think Argentina was on there.
Argentina,
Oh, Argentina.
Greece. Oh yeah, Filipos. Greece. I think we have another student who. Dubai. So yeah, it's
Wow.
a pretty multinational, some of these being, students with dual citizenship, some of these being our international F1 students, but it is a very diverse school, both from students who are US citizens and international citizens.
Yeah. And I would like to clarify that this sadly is not sponsored by Chipotle yet. Keyword yet. So Chipotle, reach out to us, do your thing. But on a more serious note, with the pandemic this past year and a lot of the political and social, I guess trauma really is the only word I can use, with having so many students from so many campuses, for Tanya, how have you dealt with that? And, Jay, not being able to do one-on-one time, just casually walk by, oh, hey, let's grab lunch together, or how you doing? How do you two deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Lisa will have a great unique perspective. For me, what's been hard is in the before times, if a student was missing an enrollment item, like a form that they needed to be able to remain in classes, I could just, it's a 4-story building. It's not hard to find someone. I have definitely walked up and down the halls and pulled students out of study groups before to be like, you haven't gotten me this thing, and I want to make sure you don't get kicked out of school. So it was much easier at that time. I will say our students have really stepped up. They've really understood that they need to hyper communicate, over communicate. It is harder the longer it goes on. Students are tired. We understand. We give students a lot of leniency, and we respect that they are emotionally exhausted and they miss their friends and they miss school. But I am so proud of the way our students have stepped up, understanding that we can't just go grab them the way we used to. I don't know how that differs for like Jay or Valdine or Lisa, but that's been my experience.
I'm going to come back to how awesome our students are in just a sec, because that's a big key player in here. But I want it to be the second thing I say, because I think it makes more sense as the second one. In the last roughly 6 months, we've had over 100 years of traditional education disrupted. And I can't think of a single place other than Make School that has more well capitalize this opportunity. And we have, of course, at the end of the day, one-on-one, like in-person stuff is amazing. But I feel like we've just all done such a great job of adopting technologies and communication strategies to just jump into it and be like, this is what we have to do. And, at the end of the day, there's actually been a lot of incredible surprise benefits that have come out of this whole thing that we're going to be keeping with us and rolling out more in depth as we eventually return back to campus. So it hasn't been all bad. It's been a lot of positivity, actually. I've been really amazed at some of the secret sauces that have been discovered, to put it kind of funnily. And so none of these things would have been possible if our students were the ones like showing up to the Zoom classes, for example. We teach big chunks of Zoom classes a day, but the students are the ones that have to show up for it. And, not only have students been successfully getting their assignments in and continuing to, use platforms like Twitch or whatever to stay connected with one another, we've just kind of shifted. We've become, instead of like physical nomads, we've become digital nomads, is the way I like to think about it. So it's not all doom and gloom. Everybody's been doing really well with adopting. And I don't think we could have done that if we were like a 10,000 staffed for-profit university that's been around for 20,000 years.
Yeah. And that segues perfectly into Lisa, being the student experience coordinator. Obviously for you not being in person, I'm sure a lot of the adjustment for you has been going from here's all these people all around you to there's just no one around you, right?
Yeah, definitely. It has been a challenge, but I think something that we emphasize is like definitely over communicating, using Slack as a way to proactively reach out to students. I think sometimes students will tend to ghost us and not respond to us. So we are not shy here. We will continue to find ways to reach out to students, whether it be on Slack, on Discord. We'll find you on social media, any ways to kind of bring you back into the community and say like, hey, I noticed that you've been kind of MIA. We care about you. Like what's going on, right? So I think students really appreciate that we reach out and check in on them, even if sometimes they don't respond, but just knowing that someone on staff recognizes that they're not there or that they've been going through something different lately, that we care and that we're able to, because we're a small school, able to really keep that one-on-one interaction, even if it's a digital space. And like having, online events have been challenging. I think students are tired of Zoom. So we're starting to experiment with different platforms like GatherTown or Spatial Chat or other ways to kind of simulate being in an in-person experience, but still kind of gathering our community. Because I think if you ask anyone at Make School, community is the best part about being a student here or a staff member here. So finding ways to get creative and continuing to strengthen that community.
All right. And I would say kind of a flipped experience. Valdine, we know from the movies that Jedi Council is very comfortable operating light years away from each other. I'm assuming for you that the student Jedi Council is somewhat similar, right?
Yes, and not going to sugarcoat it, it's hard being remote. But I'm also impressed by students who have somehow managed to get a lot of creative juices flowing. Despite being in class on Zoom all day, some of the groups that I'm working with have found ways to work on projects outside of class. For example, a group of students that I'm working with right now are working on an app to share resources about in honor of Black History Month, to share mental health resources and advice for Black people. And then we have students who are working on different ways to make things more interactive, as Lisa said, to work through GatherTown. So we have a lot of students hosting clubs through there and even working on podcasts. And I would think just sitting on Zoom all day, you'd be tired and not willing to do any of these side projects, but they still have a lot going on. And I think that's really impressive and a great way to build your resume and also to work on some hobbies and link it back to tech. So.
All right. And of course, with Elias coming in next year, we all hope that he will be on campus with all of you. And I guess if each of you were to be able to tell him one thing for the first time ever about Make School, what would that be?
I could jump in on this one. So the first thing I would say is that you know this level of education is an exploratory phase in which we're here to learn about ourselves and each other and the technologies that drive the world, and to try and understand our place in that kind of new emerging society. And so it's okay to explore, but it's also important to have an endpoint in mind. And you don't have to have the endpoint in mind right now. You don't have to walk into school and be like, in exactly 2.5 years, I will be on this track in this corporate ladder and I will be ready in 5 years to, like, you don't have to have a life plan to that degree. But, at our first year or so here, we're going to explore, we're going to learn where you want to start to head towards, what the direction you feel is your path. And once you have that endpoint in mind, we'll do everything in our power to make that happen, because that's where your value aligns with. And when you get that alignment, some really incredible stuff can happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would say asking for help is a skill. One thing we really emphasize at Make School is that in the real world, you're not expected to memorize these equations off your head. You're not expected to know every answer off your head. That's a terrible model. I don't know why schools still institute it. Yes, know how to research yourself, but asking for help is valid and real, and it's a skill we want our students to leave having.
I think my piece of advice would be, it's more like an affirmation. Every day, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I belong here. I think transitioning to college is a super challenging adjustment sometimes. So just saying like, hey, like things are going to get hard, but I can do this and I belong here. And if you're ever doubting yourself, that's just your imposter syndrome talking. Don't listen to it. Like, you're going to learn and grow so much when you're here. So every day, remind yourself that you belong here. So that's my piece of advice.
My piece of advice would be to embrace the community, take advantage of it. A lot of people here are super supportive, and you can come to anyone with an idea, and these are the type of people who would like to run with it. We're very experimental, so take advantage of that.
All right. So Elias, pretend you never told me before you want to go to Make School, and I'm asking you for the first time, after working with you all these months, all these long hours we put into starting FHS Hacks and the Civic Code to impact underrepresented and underrepresented and disadvantaged and underprivileged students around the world, especially with the emphasis on civil rights and Black History Month and all that. After all this, I'm finally asking you for the first time, why do you, or where do you want to go to college and why? What would your answer be if you had not already told me?
If I hadn't already told you, I would definitely say Make School still. And the reason I say that is because for me, the way I've always learned, I didn't learn programming like a traditional person would. I've never taken a single course. It's all self-taught. So I know people who have gone to college for computer science. I've seen how they teach the material. That style wouldn't fit me. Although I do sit like for 14 hours, watching videos and stuff, I just don't feel like, memorizing from a textbook will really teach someone how to program. And one of the biggest things that people realize is that not everybody learns computer science the same way. Some people may be visual, some people might, like the textbook route. So I think the approach that Make School has done has the best effect, in my opinion. So that's the school I would choose.
All right. And for me, having helped a lot of students figure out how to get into college, navigating college, I definitely would like to say I feel like you're ready. You're ready to go. Obviously, if you're thinking about leaving a legacy, you're probably already thinking about what you want to do as a freshman on campus. And I think really the one big thing I would say is it's pretty similar to what the others said. When you're going through hard times, you have others to lean on. They're there for you. You're all part of a team. As they've all said, everyone's actively looking out for each other. It's not just you're on campus physically, it's you're on campus and you're a living part of campus. So, Elias, we definitely wish you the best. Obviously, me and you, there's still a few more things for us to do, as well as Dooney, who is watching in the audience, Ashley as well. Clearly, there's still a lot of exciting and big things that we're going to do before you get to campus. Obviously, FHS Hacks starting in a few hours officially, which leads into the hackathon portion of the Civic Code for Black History Month. And we definitely want to make sure that before you get to campus, everyone's able to help you out and you're able to impact everyone. So if there's anything you'd like to close out with, Elias, is there anything you want to tell your future family, the staff, your classmates, everyone?
Just a fair warning, I tend to do a positive disruptance, starting new things. And that's something I did at my new school. This is like my second year in high school, and I've introduced so many different programs. So just be prepared, and I think they're very open to that. So that's all I have to say.
All right.
You should be prepared for when we say like yes to all of them, and you're like, wait, I didn't know what I was getting into, and then suddenly you're like the president of this, and you're doing this, and then you're like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm doing too much, and we're like, well, you shouldn't have proposed so many things, huh? Those ideas were too good.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I
I'm
tend to
already
do
kind
that
of
a
doing
lot.
that to Elias. I've reached a point where I've had to tell him actively, Elias, make sure you get some food and sleep. So, I think I'll have Elias at least somewhat prepared for what you just said, Jay. So, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you all of you for joining us. Elias, obviously, thank you for working so hard for all the other students who don't have the same privileges and opportunities. And Make School staff, obviously, thank you all of you for providing such a safe and warm and friendly campus. All these opportunities for Elias to look forward to. And also thank you for letting him in. Obviously, if you didn't let him in, we'd be discussing some very urgent options for him. But it's good to know, Elias, that you're going to be on campus. You're going to be with a warm, loving family. You're going to have a new team. You're ready for them, and I'm sure they're all ready for you. In fact, I'm sure they're trying to figure out how to help you create enough clubs and being, the president of enough things. So
We're depending.
we're looking forward to seeing what happens this weekend at FHS Hacks. So tune in to this channel in the future. Also visit fhshacks.com. That's the website for the hackathon. And we welcome everyone. If you're in high school, feel free to sign up. And if you've missed out because you're watching this after the weekend of February 5th to 7th, please check out theciviccode.org. That's spelled THECIVICODE.org. We want to really do our best to empower everyone to impact civil rights in a positive way. And of course, thank you, Make School. We would like to encourage everyone to check out Make School, MAKESCHOOL.com. So please feel free to check the video description below for links. You are definitely welcome to, visit any of these people on the hit them up by contacting them with the contact information we leave below. And if there's anything else anyone wants to add, welcome everyone to FHS Hacks. Is there anything you want to say about that?
we decided that because I got a lot of registrations from college students about FHS Hacks, that we've opened it to all students. The only thing is that to be eligible for a prize, you do have to be a high school student. But all workshops, all events, they're open to everyone. So please come.
All right, there you are. You heard it from the man himself. FHS Hacks is now open to everyone. So if you want to learn, please come by. And of course, we have the rest of the Civic Code for you to join us and learn. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for spending so much time with us. We're looking forward to doing more. And of course, the Make School student panel tomorrow, and definitely working with Make School deep into the future to create more initiatives and tactics for promoting DNI. And of course, may the force be with all of you.
Yes.
Bye,
All
everyone.
right.
Thanks for having us.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and everyone will see you around.